Great. So let's firstly move through a little bit about BPro and a little bit about how we are kind of broken down and made up by different departments. So let's start off with the delivery team. Now, an apprentice will deal with the delivery team more so than they will with anybody else. And the delivery team have really clear roles and responsibilities when it comes to the learner and their journey through their apprenticeship. They're all really experienced and qualified in their industry. They're great, amazing bunch of professionals. I've been working with them all for a while now. The development coach, probably the most important person that the learner will make contact with during their apprenticeship, and they work closely with them to provide coaching and support. And their main role is to find lots and lots of opportunities for the learner to meet the knowledge, skills, and behaviours that are required to build that portfolio of evidence as they move through their apprenticeship. Knowledge, skills, and behaviours, you'll hear lots and lots and lots. We abbreviate them to KSBs because it's just a little bit easier to say. But that is their main role, is to support the learner in lots of different ways. They will hold 8 weekly review meetings with the learner and with their line manager. And they will also implement support plans if needed. Sometimes they need to meet with the learner a little bit closer together than 8 weeks, just if the learner needs a little bit more support, or there's things going on in the workplace that they need sort of more support with. Then again, the development coach will drop an extra meeting in and just make sure that the learner feels supported as they move through their apprenticeship. They also provide feedback on the competencies and ensure that the apprentice is ready for EPA. Another side of the business that we work with is tutors. So they deliver the actual workshops themselves. They are all qualified in their relevant area, and they will assess and give feedback on assignments. Now, I've left on here as well functional skills tutors, because you may or may not know we've had some big news this week regarding functional skills. So functional skills, from what the government are telling us now, is going to no longer be a requirement of the apprenticeship for them to enrol onto functional skills. So anybody that doesn't have maths or English GCSE at grade C, or if you're young, level 4, in the past would have needed to have enrolled into functional skills. And we have specific functional skills tutors that will support you with that separate area of learning aside from your apprenticeship. What the government is saying now is that if you're over 19, so that's important to note, that's why I've left it in this presentation, because I don't know who's on the call and who's going to be listening to this. But if you are over 19, it's no longer a requirement unless your employer requires you to do it as part of your apprenticeship. So I've left the slides in, but when I wrote this presentation, that wasn't the case, just to be clear. So I want to talk for a little minute about BPro's values and who we are and what we do and what we believe in. So we are committed to providing the best learning experience suited to the individual of every customer's needs. We encourage, motivate, and inspire success in our learners. We promote equal opportunities and we value diversity. We are also responsible and accountable within the business, and we are open and transparent in all that we do. I've worked here for a little while now, and I can honestly say I work with a fantastic bunch of people who really hold BPro's core values at the very, very heart of every decision that we make. We've always got the learner's best interests at heart, and we provide that duty of care to them all the way through their apprenticeship journey. So this next slide is just a little bit about who we're working with. We're currently contracted with over 300 businesses across England. You'll, I'm sure, see some logos and some names on here that you recognise. We're particularly proud of our relationship with Amazon. We're going into our 5th year now of contracting with Amazon. And you'll notice NHS on there as well. Yeah, we work with lots and lots of NHS trusts. But I also want to say, as much as there's lots of big names on this slide, and yeah, that's great, we also work with some much smaller SMEs where there may only need to be 1 or 2 members of the organisation qualified in HR and L&D, but they're just as important to us. And I want to say that and make sure that that comes across quite clearly, because every customer that we have is extremely important to BPro. Last year was a massive year in terms of growth for us, and we're hoping 2025 will be the same, and we'd love you to come on that learning journey with us. So I'm going to give you now an overview of apprenticeships, just so that everybody on the call has a full breakdown and understanding of what it really involves. And then we'll get into the level 7 and we'll talk a little bit more about that. So who can start an apprenticeship? So yeah, you need to be 16 or over. Common myth was that when I started doing this job, I thought that apprenticeships were for school and college leavers, so 16, 17, 18-year-olds. Absolutely not the case. There is no upper age limit, so you can be 60. As long as you're working in the right job and you've got the support of your employer and you're eligible for the funding, then yeah, absolutely, you can enrol and you can start your learning journey with BPro. You do need to be living in England. That's because we're accessing the government levy fund. So that only applies to England. So if you are living in Wales, Scotland or Ireland, those residents unfortunately don't qualify for the government funded levy and the co-investment that the employer can access if they don't currently pay into the levy. And you must be working full or part-time in a paid role. So not in full-time education or training. You must be working in a full or part-time paid role, yeah. So we know that the apprentice needs to be an employee working alongside experienced staff, and that's really important because you're going to draw on your colleagues throughout your apprenticeship to help you out with witness testimonies, maybe do some observations for you. It might be that you need to jump into a different department for a little while whilst you're studying a certain module that requires you to have that exposure that you don't have in your normal day-to-day role. And again, that's where the employer needs to be really flexible and allow you and afford you that sort of option to do that. You need to be working to gain specific job skills, so that's skills specific to the apprenticeship. And of course, you need to be allowed the time for that training and study to go ahead. And that's a really important thing. I'm going to talk a little bit more about off the job hours now, just so that everyone understands what that sort of looks like. So we say that if you're employed on a full-time basis, as an absolute minimum, and it is a minimum, you need to be setting aside 6 hours a week for off the job training. And I do say that as a very, very bare minimum. Let's say that you're working 30 hours a week. So we're looking at 20% of your working time then. So we condense that into 5 hours a week. And what will happen is as you're going through the enrolment call with your coach, they'll be building your off the job hours into your learning plan on that enrolment call with your employer so that everybody has full transparency of what is being asked. So what is off the job training? So this slide gives a very short but accurate overview. And the quote reads, learning that's undertaken outside of the normal day-to-day working environment and leads towards the achievement of an apprenticeship. This can include training that is delivered at the apprentice's normal place of work, but must not be delivered as part of their normal working duties. So off the job training, off the job hours is a vital component of the apprenticeship because it reinforces that practical work-based learning that you're completing on the job with the technical and theoretical learning that we're delivering to you as the learning provider. And together they combine the most effective apprenticeship learning experience. Some employers face a bit of a challenge when it comes to interpreting that definition and also what counts as off the job hours, which we'll look at on the next slide. But where should it take place? How should it be calculated? And other employers sometimes face operational challenges within that department of giving that apprentice time to actually move away from the day-to-day activities and complete their off the job hours. So what I'm saying there is that an apprenticeship, it's a big commitment from you as the learner. It's a big commitment from your employer. And, it's a big commitment from us. We really, really want, you to come and join us, but we want this to be the right apprenticeship for you. So what counts towards off the job hours? There was lots. And again, I thought when I started this job that meant sitting down writing assignments. And yes, that is part of it. Thank you, Georgette. We will share the PDF guide that we've got to the off the job hours after the session. But yeah, there's loads there that count towards off the job hours. And it's really, really important that it's done to meet that skills and behavioural component of each standard. And as I said, it's mapped into your learning journey right at the start. So looking at our portfolio quickly, I'm just going to leave this slide on the screen for a second so everyone can read through that. As you can see, we offer 6 apprenticeships currently. And the reason we do that and we don't deliver 25 apprenticeships is because we're really good at what we do. And we hold quality extremely highly and at the front of all that we do as well. So we'd much rather deliver 6 apprenticeships and know that we are absolutely brilliant at doing those. As you can see, they're all HR and L&D with a coaching professional in there as well. And this is an overview of what we're going to be delivering during 2025. Now, this call in particular, it's important for me to mention that the government are looking to withdraw the level 7 from the levy funding at some point this year. We don't know when it will be. I wish we did. Well, I wish they weren't doing it, but they are. So it's important to note, though, that anybody that's on programme will be able to continue as normal. I've had a few conversations with some employers just this week saying, yeah, I've got, a brilliant candidate for a level 7. She's looking to do it in September. And I'm saying, yeah, okay, well, let's maybe have a look at whether or not, the next couple of 3 months might be a better idea for enrolment there. We don't know when it will happen. We would like to think as well that when they do announce the date, there will be a grace period where we will still be able to get some learners onboarded. But again, I'm afraid it's as clear as mud in that respect. We don't know any more than that. Okay, let's get stuck into the level 7 senior people professional. This is a very busy slide, and I'm sorry it is. I'm going to break it down bit by bit for you. So we know that the apprenticeship takes 24 months plus 3 months endpoint assessment. EPA is the abbreviation there. Now, as part of this apprenticeship, and depending on which way you want to go within your CIPD, you've got the strategic people management route, or you've got the strategic learning and development route, and that will form part of your CIPD. So you will choose at the start, before you go through onboarding, in fact, whether or not you want to follow people management or L&D. There is the option to follow the OD route, but it must be piggybacked off either the people management or the L&D. So if you're working in organizational design, that's fine. You can follow that route through CIPD, but it's a unit on an extra to either people management or L&D. So let's look a little bit at senior people professional. What kind of job roles do we typically find relate to learners that want to enrol? So we're looking at job roles such as head of L&D, head of HR, head of people, head of operations, HR people and change manager, senior managers such as senior L&D, senior HR managers, or maybe the organizational design lead, that kind of level. It is equivalent to a master's degree. It is a big undertaking. It's a wonderful apprenticeship, and to actually be qualified to this level in CIPD is absolutely amazing. So we know that senior people professionals are people that are like the in-house expert within the organisation. So they're championing the people agenda to create that really strong working environment and culture. They're really driving the business to get the best out of their employees. They're delivering great organisational outcomes. And in their daily work, they're doing, you can imagine, I'm sure, in your own role, if you're on the call listening and you're thinking of enrolling, there's so much that they do in terms of interacting with stakeholders across the organisation, creating that long-term value. And in larger organisations, they may be part of a wider specialist team. They may be leading a team of HR and L&D managers themselves. That is the level that we're looking at with here, with the L&D, with the level 7 senior people professional. So the delivery plan for this apprenticeship looks a little bit like this. We have got, there's no enrolment window for the level 7, so you can enroll monthly and you will join the next workshop following that. The programme is delivered over 24 months plus EPA, and it involves 32 workshops, 12 milestone progress reviews, and 12 coaching sessions to support those workplace activities, and 8 written assignments. There are 8 units within the L&D, sorry, I keep saying that, within the level 7 senior people professional. Important to note as well is that we provide the CIPD as added value. It is a massive achievement to achieve the level 7. We are giving it to you for free within the apprenticeship. It's not a requirement of the standard, and it's important to note that you must complete the apprenticeship all the way to the end before you actually are going to achieve that CIPD certificate. So we're talking about completing fully through to the To achieve that same certification, if you were going to study it outside of the apprenticeship route, would cost you upwards of £5,000 to study through that online live workshop delivery model that we're providing here. So the endpoint assessment for the senior people professional consists of a project proposal, so 7,000 word project proposal that you're going to take questions on and present, alongside a professional discussion underpinned by a full portfolio of evidence. And we're looking for kind of roughly 15 pieces of really, really good evidence in that respect too. So the way that we're delivering that on-programme coaching and assessment, we're looking to do expert webinars with you. So the CIPD side of the apprenticeship will mean that you'll attend a number of specialist webinars with specialist tutors and industry experts that will deliver that learning to you. You have access to 24-hour learning via our online platform. We use a platform called Bud. Bud is a really good tool, actually. It's like a little learning portal that you'll have a login for. And within that, you can look at when your assignments are due, what work's been set, when your next workshop is. You can talk to your coach. You can look at the progress that you've made so far. And you can also find a lot of resources within Bud that will help you as well. Projects, so you'll complete a number of specialist projects during the programme to develop your knowledge and showcase your skills, and that will also contribute to a very strong portfolio of work-based evidence by the end of the apprenticeship. As we said, your coach will meet with you and your manager, so we call them tripartite reviews. They are held every 8 weeks roughly, and the whole point of those reviews is to make sure that it's a three-way relationship. So there's yourself in the middle as the apprentice, and you have sort of two avenues of help, really, people that are looking to help you. So you've got your employer, who of course is supporting you with your apprenticeship, and they are doing everything they can within the workplace to give you that exposure to all of the elements that you'll need to evidence your standards within your apprenticeship. And you've got us that are delivering the learning to you. Now, it's important to make sure during those meetings that your employer is supporting you, so they are giving you that minimum of 6 hours a week if you're full-time employed to complete your apprenticeship. You know, that they are giving you exposure to all areas that's needed, and that we're delivering the learning properly as well. You know, we're delivering the learning to you in a way that works for you, that you're understanding. And it's also to make sure that you're accountable for your own apprenticeship as well. It's holding everybody accountable during those tripartite reviews. So they are really important. So we've talked about 360 feedback a little bit already, but yeah, those reviews are there to really review the progress, discuss any opportunities for development, and development coaches will also seed feedback from a wider selection of the apprentices, peers and managers. So you may find that your coach needs to talk to your line manager or, you know, a colleague of yours. If we're looking to evidence, for example, like a witness testimony, that sort of thing, that's important to note. And you also get attendance at the CIPD annual conference included in your level 7 apprenticeship. So that's good to note. And that I have never been, but I believe it's a really good experience. And I know people that have been and have said it was extremely helpful to them. So moving on to our delivery model. Onboarding. Onboarding is the first stage of the delivery model that I'm going to talk about now. And onboarding is where you'll meet me. So my job is to meet with you one-to-one. At the very, very first stage of this conversation, we're going to open up about the Level 7 Senior People Professional Apprenticeship. We will have 20 minutes, half an hour on Teams together. We'll go through your job description a little bit. You can tell me about your role. And my job there is to really make sure that this is right for you. You know, it's very important to get this right at the start, and that falls to me a lot of the time. So that's why we have those calls. It's really, really important that learners and their line managers understand the commitment that is required of an apprenticeship. And you will then move into the second 2 stages. Now, they're separate there. What we've done recently is we have made that initial advice and guidance session that's conducted by the coach, and we've put that in with the actual enrolment call. The reason we've done that is we were finding that we could get the first conversation done with the coach and your line manager, but then we were finding it really hard to make everyone's diaries knit together, and there was a very big gap between that first initial call and then your enrolment call. So they are now grouped together. It does mean you get it all done in one go, which does, I think, flow better for the apprentice's experience, is to just get, you know, everything out of the way in one go. It does make it quite a long call. We're looking at around 2.5 hours for that call. So we do ask you to block out 2.5 hours, both you and your line manager. And all the commitment statements are done during that call, employer statements, learners commitment statements, that sort of thing. And learning commences from day one. So once you have gone through that call, that is your first day in learning. You will join the next workshop after that. As I said, workshops are generally every 4 weeks. Let's say that your first workshop is on a Tuesday morning, 9:30 to 12:30. They are all 3 hours long. and that's on a Tuesday morning. Your next workshop will be likely 4 weeks on that same time of the day on a Tuesday morning. So you're kind of going to be able to know, what works for you and when your next workshop's going to come. So, it's pretty easy to then plot. And they're all released anyway. Like, you get a full breakdown of when the sessions are. That's given to you on email as well by our support team. We are completely an online remote business. You will never need to go to a college to study your apprenticeship. You need to go to your workplace and you need to be online attending your Zoom sessions. We do use Zoom for the workshop tutorials and not Teams. I think it's because we've found it really difficult to get a 3-hour slot with Teams. I think it doesn't let you do it. So, but Zoom does. So that's why our workshop delivery is all on Zoom. And all of our tutors, as I said, they are all subject specialists even, and they are really good at what they do. We really promote collaborative working and getting to know people from different industries. It just means that you're learning from each other, which is really good. We try and make the Zoom workshop tutorials as interactive as you can. We try not to do it as a death by PowerPoint situation because nobody wants to sit and listen to 3 hours worth of PowerPoint slides. So you might find that your tutor sends you out into like breakout rooms and might ask you to go through kind of 20 minutes or so in groups of 3 or 4 and then come back together and everyone kind of collaboratively discusses what opinions are. You might find the way that you do something in your organisation is completely different to somebody else in the cohort that might tackle it in a different way. And again, it's all kind of joined up learning that way, which is really good. And yeah, this last slide is about functional skills. I won't go through it again. I don't know if there's anybody on the call that this would have applied to. It may be that there is, but the rules now really are, unless your employer forces you to go down the functional skills route, or you're under 19, if you didn't achieve it at grade C, the government are now saying it is no longer a requirement. We are waiting on more guidance. It's important to say on that. We don't have any firm, clear instruction as to what to do with that next. We're waiting to see if it affects learners already on programme, for example. We don't know the answer. But of course, as soon as we do, we will happily share that with all of our learners and also anybody that's going through that onboarding stage right now. So thank you so much for joining us today. In a minute, I'm going to open the floor up to any questions, if anyone has any. Before I do, I'd like to remind you, if you are interested in the course and you want to have a one-to-one chat with me, George, I believe, has dropped my contact details into the chat. So please do reach out. I'm very happy to set aside some time on Teams with you. We've run lots of sessions this week. It's been a brilliant week. I've really enjoyed it. And I just really want to close by saying that an apprenticeship is a skill for life. You will always have it. And you'll continue to build on that as you move through your career and develop within your role. It's a wonderful, wonderful thing. So thank you so much for your time. Have a great day. I'm going to stop recording now and we'll open the floor up to any questions. Feel free to use the chat box, or if you'd like to turn your mic off and speak, also that's fine.